On October 22nd, the Chicago Cubs punched their ticket to the World Series for the first time in 71 years. They beat the Los Angeles Dodgers 5-0, and the world went crazy. After all, 71 years is a long time without a World Series appearance, and members of the media were quick to make notice of it. News outlets like CBS, The Washington Post, and ESPN all sent out tweets reminding their followers that the city of Chicago hasn't seen the Fall Classic in those 71 years. But there's only one problem. It did. More than once. On October 26, 2005, the Chicago White Sox won its first World Series in 88 years by completing a 4-game sweep of the Houston Astros. I'm a Sox fan. I have been my whole life, so it's safe to say I was just a little disappointed in the media. Let's dive into the details. Now remember, the Cubs clinched the World Series berth on October 22nd. On October 24th, 2 days after the Cubs won, CBS tweeted out a picture of Wrigley Field, captioned, "Wrigley Field is prepping this morning for an event Chicago hasn't seen in 71 years, the World Series." Wrong. Quick to realize their mistake, CBS tweeted out 3 hours later, "Correction, it's an event Wrigley Field hasn't seen in 71 years because the White Sox won in 2005. It's all good, right? Wrong again. The White Sox were in the World Series in 1959. They didn't win, but they were in it. And that's within the 71 years since the Cubs. One of the first rules of journalism is fact-checking. Who is fact-checking for CBS? It's one of the biggest news conglomerates in the world. Whoever was in charge of this tweet had 2 days to make sure they were correct. The person in charge of fact-checking this stuff is either an idiot or a Cubs fan. Or I guess that's kind of the same thing most of the time. More egregious, though, is ESPN. ESPN is a news source solely dedicated to sports. They're supposed to know everything about every player and every team. And what did they do? They ran an entire segment comparing the number of Chicago and Cleveland sports titles. They put up this graphic, and it had the number of championships for each city since 1965. Cleveland has 1, the Cavs, who won the NBA championship last year, and they have 10 for Chicago. 6 Bulls, 3 Blackhawks, and 1 Bears title. You've got to be kidding me. First of all, they forgot to include the 1998 Chicago Fire MLS championship. But back to baseball. Are the White Sox a professional team? Yes. Did they win the championship? Yes. Game 2 of the White Sox's World Series had higher TV ratings than the Cubs' Game 2. So why isn't ESPN, the worldwide leader in sports, not including them? They sent out some sort of an explanation saying they didn't want to aggravate Cub fans by putting it on the graphic. Cub fans should be aggravated that they haven't won a title in 108 years. Not that the White Sox did 11 years ago. You can't just erase or ignore history. If you could, why haven't we decided to forget that Frosted Tips were once a thing? Or that the McPizza existed at all? Look, it's fine. I get it. People like the Cubs more. It might be the team that comes to mind when you think of Chicago. Hell, when the White Sox were created, the city of Chicago said it couldn't be within city limits. I get it, Cub fans. You don't like us. And it's fine. But just remember, we won. You haven't won yet. I want you to win because you deserve it. But if you deserve the title this year, we deserve some recognition for what we did in 2005. For Third Coast Offense, I'm Dylan Conover.